The second big problem facing our nation today is wealth inequality. Now, under a capitalist system, you're going to have what's called stratification of wealth. You're going to have some people that accumulate more wealth, whether by owning land or businesses. There are ways that that could be improved so that the society can work together and have less inequality. But capitalist system is not going away anytime soon. So how can we make the system that we have more equitable? I have several different policy proposals, which I'll detail on the website. But in essence, I want to look into options for a universal basic income. And here's why. We have a solution to poverty. Back in our great-grandparents' days, in the early 1900s, the elderly, people over the age of 65, were the poorest in the country. And the government looked at that and said, well, these people have contributed to society for their entire lives, so we need to help them, and we need to contribute back to their safety and security. And now, 80 years later, the amount of wealth that the elderly have is more than any other population in America. So we completely fixed the issue of poverty with the elderly. Fantastic. Who knew? How to solve poverty? You do it with money. There have been many different studies on the effectiveness of things like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And in addition, there are charities that are experimenting, such as a charity called Give Directly and many of its clones. There are charities that are experimenting with what happens when you just give people money instead of giving them stuff or training or something like that. And what they find is that people actually, on average, tend to use that money in a very efficient way. People tend to take care of their emergency needs, such as food, shelter, clothing, and then they're able to do things like get transportation, find a job, contribute back to the economy. There are many different ways to study these things, but in many cases, things like training people for work contributes more money back to the economy in taxes than it costs to provide the service. There's a program called Rehabilitation Services here in Arkansas that has a mini multiplier effect. If I'm not mistaken, it's around 5 times multiplier. So they spend $1 on education, the state gets $5 back because that person is able to better their life and make it so that they can get a job. So what I would like to see is programs like this, where we as a society can come together, we can help people in need, and then it benefits everyone. The fact is that if we can give a boost to that person, maybe they're disabled, maybe they have a skin condition or a health condition that prevents them from being able to work without special treatment or special accommodation. Many people may not know, but the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, is actually only from 1991. And we have seen a huge amount of economic growth that has been caused by people who are disabled being able to get into the workforce. In many cases, there may be a small amount of investment that an employer might have to do to be able to employ that person. But because it is required by federal law, it means that we can have a huge number of people, many, many hundreds of thousands, that used to be completely unable to work and are now able to work and able to contribute to society and to tax revenue and to their communities and live a full and a life that they feel is worthy of respect. And so what I would like to see is ways for people to be able to do this, whether in their city, their state, or over the entire country. As an example, there are many opportunities now for solar panels, and one of the things that I find most important to do is to revitalize manufacturing in the country. So we'll talk about that next.